Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, members of the Niger Delta Avengers seek the inclusion of elder statesman Edwin Clark and representatives of the multinationals operating in the country in any dialogue with the federal government. The National Human Rights Commission asked security operatives to respect the rights of Nigerians in the course of discharging their responsibilities. The federal government partially reopens the Apapa-Ijora bridge in Lagos to light traffic after emergency repairs on the bridge. And Turkey's president says suicide attack that left 51 people dead in Turkey was carried out by a teenager. The militants group, the Niger Delta Avengers, has announced a ceasefire and given conditions to dialogue with the federal government. The group says it will support a dialogue which engages the representatives of the Nigerian government, representatives from the home countries of all multinational oil corporations, and some international mediators. In a statement posted on its website, the group pledged its support for a negotiation team which will include elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark, while discussions will focus on achieving short, medium and long-term framework on de-escalating conflict in the oil-rich region. The Niger Delta Avengers have claimed responsibility for several major attacks, but have been apparently less active in recent weeks. This has led to speculation about a ceasefire, as the government has been trying for about 2 months to reach out to the militants. One of the measures being proposed by the government to stem the tide of conflict between farmers and herdsmen is a revival of grazing reserves in Adamawa State, which has recently witnessed bloody clashes between two groups. The federal government has embarked on a sensitization of the cattle rearers. The aim of the exercise is to educate Fulani herdsmen of the need to prevent their animals from straying into farms and destroying crops.
The Gongoshi Reserve, part of a 5,000-hectare tract of land designated by the Adamawa state government, is the venue of an advocacy and sensitization program on revitalizing and development of grazing reserves and stock routes. The Fulani community here is in a festive mood as they roll out the drums to welcome their august visitors, the state's deputy governor and officials of the state and federal ministries of agriculture.
We are on advocacy to sensitize our members and the farmers on the need for peace, for them to coexist peacefully, because the two professions are created to coexist together. So the need for peace among them is very, very important. We want to take them back to days when if there is a problem between a farmer and a cattle breeder, they will settle it in the farmland, shake hands and live peacefully.
The Adamawa state government emphasizes the need for peaceful coexistence between farmers and herdsmen.
It is the responsibility of government to provide the enabling environment and infrastructure for the huge livestock resources and the pastoralists in the state. The government also is involved in the enlightenment of farmers and herdsmen on the importance of each other to the society and the need for peaceful coexistence between them. I'm aware that farmers and pastoralists are fully represented here. I'm also delighted that they are ready for the collaboration between the federal and the state government to better their lives.
The event also provides a platform to discuss reasons for the clashes between herdsmen and farmers and solutions to the problem.
There were a lot of programs. There were a green revolution, there's this farmer development. There are many programs that were developed by World Bank, by state governments, by federal government that has to do with agriculture. While the cattle aspect of the agriculture has completely been, neglected. Therefore, this brought about a real, conflict between the farmers and the rearers.
We will advise our children not to enter anybody's farm with our cattle. Nevertheless, if my cattle enter somebody's farm, he should not take the laws into his hands, but rather he should report the matter to me. I will personally go to the farm to confirm, and if it is true, I will pay for the damage done or ask him to forgive.
Indeed, it's essential for both herdsmen and farmers to be properly educated on the need to coexist peacefully to ensure that the grazing reserves are not turned into new battlegrounds.
State authorities in some southern parts of the Federation are making efforts to prepare for possible emergencies due to cases of flooding. This is according to officials of the state's emergency management agencies in Ogun, Cross River and Bayelsa states. The state officials residents to show more concern for the environment.
A recent directive from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency indicates that some states are at risk of flooding this year, and that people living in riverine and flood-prone areas of those states should vacate those places. In states like Cross River and Ogun State, the people have been heeding the call. Bayelsa is not also taking any chances. In 2012, residents of Akaba, a community in Yenegua, were driven out of their community by flood. It seems the signs are gradually becoming evident.
Not every 2 weeks now we are treating malaria because of the water mosquito. We can't even stay outside from 98 because the water is disturbing us, and we are begging for government to help us.
Although the state emergency management is already preparing for emergencies, it believes residents can also help in reducing the impact of this menace.
It's a community effort when it comes to flood fighting. The state has given you information what to do. If you cannot fight it at that point, the government will evacuate you to a nearby higher ground. This time around, we don't intend bringing everybody to the state capital. So what we want to do this time around is to ensure that every local government area will create a higher land, look for a higher ground, which we have been doing.
Cross River State government is also leaving nothing to chance as it has started the clearing of drains. In a meeting in Calabar, the Director General of SEMA told journalists that the state government had put aside about 10 billion naira to build permanent camps across the 10 local government areas in case of any emergency.
People have not learned to even build outside the waterways. Then again, government has even advised them to leave, but they won't do that. But now that we are here, we are now making a bylaw to enable citizens of the states know that it is the cost, their lives are goods to us, and so the cost of maintaining them when the effect comes does not fall down on the family members, not their own community, but it behoves on us to do the job.
In Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, 22 communities from 8 local government areas have been identified to be flood-prone areas. The state emergency management team is on the streets and in the market to educate residents on the need to maintain a clean and hygienic environment to reduce the impact of flooding in the state.
They should stop dumping refuse on drainages. That is the main crux of our campaign. We don't want to start reacting when incidences happen. We want to prevent incidences from happening.
In 2012, NEMA reported that Nigeria lost 2.6 trillion naira to flood disaster across some states in the country. It is in the light of this that government and residents have to play their role in promoting good environmental hygiene to cushion the effect of the flood.
Some politics now. It appears more controversies brewing over the March 19th rerun election, with the results in Thai local government area in Rivers State. Some of these results, which were initially cancelled by the resident electoral commissioner, were later published by the Independent National Electoral Commission. In the meantime, leaders of the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress are divided over calls for fresh polls. Our correspondent Emmanuel Ire reports.
That EO got the message. By then, The INEC National Commissioner in charge of operations explaining in a recent meeting with political parties in Rivers State the reasons behind the electoral body's decision to step down the initial cancellation of results in Tai local government area in the state. It's a move that does not sit well with the PDP in the state.
What Amina Zakari and her cohorts are trying to do is a robbery of democracy, the robbery of the mandate of the Rivers people on a broad daylight, and it should never stand. That action will not see the light of the day. She can try as much as she can, but as long as we live in a democratic environment where the Constitution is the supreme power that governs our activity, that all those moves shall be making, all the moves will never stand.
Supporters of the APC, however, take to the streets in Tai to celebrate what they say means victory for them. The senatorial candidates for the River Southeast tells journalists that he was the target of the initial cancellation.
One question that nobody has bothered to ask is why were the Tai results withheld in the first place? You had an election that was conducted by INEC, collated by the collation officer, returned by the returning officer, in the presence of all the relevant authorities and agencies like the police, the SSS and all that were involved in the election. You had e-collation officers that were on ground in Tai. You had everything that is supposed to be part of an election that was part of the election in Tai. Now, why were the results not accepted?
In the build-up to the repeat of polls and disputed areas in the state, there is need for the electoral body to set all records straight and to ensure that the process of the collation and announcement of results is transparent. Emmanuel Ire, Channels Television News.
The National Human Rights Commission has advised security agencies to respect and uphold the rights of Nigerians while performing their duties. Speaking at an investigative forum with the Commissioner of Police in charge of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Mohammed Mustafa, the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Bem Angwe, notes that the Commission will not shy away from invoking its powers to defending these fundamental rights.
It's an investigative forum as the National Human Rights Commission summoned the Commission of Police in charge of the Federal Capital Territory to explain the role of the police in the alleged manhandling of some traders and shop owners at Wuye Market in Abuja. The traders, shop owners and a private developer have been engaged in a running battle over the management of the market since it was built on the public-private partnership arrangement since 2012. While the shop owners insist on taking possession of the shops, the developer resists the attempts on the ground that the shop owners have not fully paid for the shops. The Executive Secretary of the Commission informs the Police Commissioner of the petition against him and vows to uphold the rights of Nigerians.
They further allege that the police were further arresting their members and stopping them from occupying their shops in Wuye Ultramodern Market. And indeed, they met a very serious allegation of two members of their association being shot at and were left lying at the premises.
The FCT Police Commissioner denies the allegations against his men, saying every police officer is trained to defend people's rights. He explains why the police shut down the Wuye Market.
In response to what has happened, the matter before us, Wuye Market, in the last 3 weeks, we came in to restore peace. And as for the allegation of death, I think these are just the usual tactics. Nobody died. It's only one Alex Wanko is in the National Hospital. He has POP on his leg.
Although peace has been restored at the Wuye market in Abuja, the battle between the traders, shop owners and the developer of the market is yet to abate as the National Human Rights Commission steps in to resolve the crisis rocking the ownership of the market.
In part two, after the break, Kaduna State Government orders owners of structures built on the high-tension cables in Igabi local government area of the state to vacate. Please join us again.